Hello, this is Ben Television News Roundup, a compilation of major stories in the weekend, and I'm Tunde Alabi. Thank you for being part of the program today. One major highlight of the week ending was the visit of the Prime Minister Theresa May to the U.S. President Donald Trump. In the course of the visit, both leaders promised to work together to strengthen each other's economies and security.
Today, the United States renews our deep bond with Britain, military, financial, cultural, and political. We have one of the great bonds. We pledge our lasting support to this most special relationship. Together, America and the United Kingdom are a beacon for prosperity and the rule of law. That is why the United States respects the sovereignty of the British people and their right of self-determination. A free and independent Britain is a blessing to the world, and our relationship has never been stronger. Both America and Britain understand that governments must be responsive to everyday working people, that governments must represent their own citizens. Madam Prime Minister, we look forward to working closely with you as we strengthen our mutual ties in commerce, business, and foreign affairs. Great days lie ahead for our two peoples and our two countries. On behalf of our nation, I thank you for joining us here today. It's a really great honor. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. And can I start by saying that I'm so pleased that I've been able to be here today, and thank you for inviting me so soon after your inauguration. And I'm delighted to be able to congratulate you on what was a stunning election victory. And as you say, the invitation is an indication of the strength and importance of the special relationship that exists between our two countries, a relationship based on the bonds of history, of family, kinship, and common interests. And in a further sign of the importance of that relationship, I have today been able to convey Her Majesty the Queen's hope that President Trump and the First Lady would pay a state visit to the United Kingdom later this year, and I'm delighted that the President has accepted that invitation. Now, today we're discussing a number of topics, and there's much on which we agree. The President has mentioned foreign policy. We're discussing how we can work even more closely together in order to take on and defeat Daesh and the ideology of Islamist extremism wherever it's found. Our two nations are already leading efforts to face up to this challenge, and we're making progress with Daesh losing territory and fighters, but we need to redouble our efforts. And today we're discussing how we can do this by deepening intelligence and security cooperation, and critically by stepping up our efforts to counter Daesh in cyberspace. Because we know we will not eradicate this threat until we defeat the ideology that lies behind it. Our talks will be continuing later. I'm sure we'll discuss other topics, Syria and Russia. On defence and security cooperation, we're united in our recognition of NATO as the bulwark of our collective defence. And today, we've reaffirmed our unshakable commitment to this alliance. Mr. President, I think you confirmed that you're 100% behind NATO. But we're also discussing the importance of NATO continuing to ensure it is as equipped to fight terrorism and cyber warfare as it is to fight more conventional forms of war. And I've agreed to continue my efforts to encourage my fellow European leaders to deliver on their commitments to spend 2% of their GDP on defence so that the burden is more fairly shared. It's only by investing properly in our defence that we can ensure we're properly equipped to face our shared challenges together. And finally, the President and I have mentioned future economic cooperation and trade. Trade between our two countries is already worth over £150 billion a year. The US is the single biggest source of inward investment to the UK, and together we've around $1 trillion invested in each other's economies. And the UK-US defence relationship is the broadest, deepest, and most advanced of any two countries, sharing military hardware and expertise. And I think the President and I are ambitious to build on this relationship in order to grow our respective economies, provide the high-skilled, high-paid jobs of the future for working people across America and across the UK. And so we are discussing how we can establish trade negotiation agreement, take forward immediate high-level talks, lay the groundwork for a UK-US trade agreement, and identify the practical steps we can take now in order to enable companies in both countries to trade and do business with one another more easily. And I'm convinced that a trade deal between the US and the UK is in the national interest of both countries and will cement the crucial relationship that exists between us, particularly as the UK leaves the European Union and reaches out to the world. Today's talks, I think, are a significant moment for President Trump and I to build our relationship, and I look forward to continuing to work with you as we deliver on the promises of freedom and prosperity for all the people of our respective countries. Thank you.
The Prime Minister Theresa May has said she believed US President Donald Trump's immigration policy banning citizens of some Muslim countries is divisive and wrong. The Prime Minister disclosed this during the Prime Minister's Question Time.
I'm happy to say to the Right Honourable Gentleman that when I visited the United States, I'm pleased to say that I was able to build on the relationship we have with our most important ally and to get some very significant commitments from President Trump. And crucial among those was a 100% commitment to NATO. NATO which keeps us safe and keeps Europe safe too.
Mr. Speaker, Downing Street has not denied that the Prime Minister was told by the White House that the executive order on travel to the US was imminent. So let's be clear, was the Prime Minister told about the ban during her visit, and did she try to persuade President Trump otherwise?
First of all, on the policy that President Trump has introduced, this government is clear that that policy is wrong. We wouldn't do it. In 6 years as Home Secretary, I never introduced such a policy. We believe it is divisive and wrong. If he's asking me whether I had advance notice of the ban on refugees, the answer is no. If he's asking me if I had advance notice that the executive order could affect British citizens, the answer is no. If he's asking if I had advance notice of the travel restrictions, the answer is we all did, because President Trump said he was going to do this in his election campaign. The question is how you respond. The job of government is not to chase the headlines. The job of government is not to take to the streets in protest. The job of government is to protect the interests of British citizens, and that's exactly what we did.
Mr. Speaker, on the day after the executive order was made to ban refugees and visitors from 7 predominantly Muslim countries, why did she 3 times refuse to condemn the ban then?
I've made very clear that we believe that this policy is divisive and wrong, that it is not a policy that we would introduce, and I've also made very clear when asked about this that this government has a very different approach to these issues. On refugees, this government has a proud record of the support that we have given to refugees, and long may it continue.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said the United States is responsible for United States policy on refugees. But surely it is the responsibility of all of us to defend the 1951 Refugee Convention, which commits this country, the United States, and 142 other states to accept refugees without regard to their race, religion, or country of origin. President Trump has breached that convention. Why didn't she speak out?
First of all, I've made absolutely clear what the government's view on this policy is. Secondly, as I've just said, this government has a proud record, and this country has a proud record, of how it welcomes refugees. We have, over the recent years, we've introduced the very particular scheme to ensure that particularly vulnerable refugees in Syria can be brought to this country, and something like 10,000 Syrian refugees have come to this country since the conflict began. We're also the second biggest bilateral donor, helping and supporting refugees in the region. That is what we are doing. I have said that the policy is wrong. We will take a different view, and we will continue to welcome refugees to this country.
Mr. Speaker, I also wrote to the Prime Minister on this issue, and I received her reply this morning. I hold in my hand her piece of paper. She makes no mention of the Refugee Convention, nor condemns the US actions in this respect. Mr. Speaker, last week I also asked the Prime Minister to assure the House that in any United States trade deal she would not offer up our National Health Service as a bargaining chip. She gave no answer. When asked in the US, she also refused to rule it out. So let's ask her a third time. Will she rule out opening up our National Health Service to private US healthcare companies? Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, I could give a detailed answer to the right honourable gentleman's question, but I think a simple and straightforward reply is what is required. The NHS is not for sale, and it never will be.
Mr. Speaker, that includes not having US healthcare companies coming in to run any part of our National Health Service. Mr. Speaker, President Trump has torn up international agreements on refugees. He's threatened to dump international agreements on climate change. He's praised the use of torture. He's incited hatred against Muslims. He's directly attacked women's rights. Just what more does President Trump have to do before the Prime Minister will listen to the 1.8 million people who've already called for his state visit invitation to be withdrawn?
The right honourable gentleman's foreign policy is to object to and insult the democratically elected head of state of our most important ally. Let's just see what he would have achieved in the last week. Would he have been able to protect British citizens from the impact of the executive order? No. Would he have been able to lay the foundations of a trade deal? No. Would he have got a 100% commitment to NATO? No. That's what Labour has to offer this country. Less protection for British citizens, less prosperous, less safe. He can lead a protest. I'm leading a country.
Meanwhile, members of the parliament have voted in favour of the government to trigger Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty to formally start the process of Britain leaving the EU.
The ayes to the right, 498. The noes to the left, 114.
The ayes to the right, 498. The noes to the left, 114. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Back to the US President Donald Trump's nomination for the Supreme Court has caused another huge disaffection between the president and Democrats in the Senate. The choice of Federal High Court Judge Neil Gorsuch for the top job has seen the Democrats threatening to block his confirmation.
Federal Appeals Court Judge Neil Gorsuch making the rounds on Capitol Hill, meeting with senators, including the Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
The President made an outstanding appointment. We're all thrilled and looking forward to getting the confirmation process started.
President Trump said he nominated Gorsuch to deliver on his campaign promise of nominating a true conservative to the High Court. Gorsuch vowed to be an independent justice if confirmed.
That when we judges don our robes, it doesn't make us any smarter, but it does serve as a reminder of what's expected of us. Impartiality and independence, collegiality and courage.
But Senate Democrats are already gearing up for a fight. Some already oppose Gorsuch outright.
This administration, at least at its outset, seems to have less respect for the rule of law than any in recent memory, and is challenging the Constitution in unprecedented fashion.
Democrats could try to block Gorsuch through the use of a filibuster, a parliamentary tactic used to kill previous nominations. Republicans hold a narrow 52 to 48 Senate majority, and it takes 60 votes to defeat a filibuster. Some Republicans say they're willing to use the so-called nuclear option to change Senate rules to eliminate the filibuster. At the White House, Trump left little doubt he would push Republican leader McConnell to change Senate rules if necessary to confirm Gorsuch.
But if we end up with that gridlock, I would say, if you can, Mitch, go nuclear.
Last year, Republicans blocked President Barack Obama's choice for the court, Judge Merrick Garland, angering Democrats. The coming Senate debate over Gorsuch is the latest in a series of politically charged Supreme Court nominations that began with the 1987 battle over Judge Robert Bork. Bork was nominated by President Ronald Reagan, but Democrats voted him down in the Senate.
The yeas are 42, the nays are 58. The nomination is not confirmed.
Another contentious fight came in 1991. When Democrats questioned nominee Clarence Thomas about unproven allegations of personal misconduct during Senate hearings.
This is a circus. It's a national disgrace.
If confirmed, Gorsuch would take the seat held by Justice Antonin Scalia, who died suddenly last year. Scalia was considered the High Court's leading conservative thinker, and someone Gorsuch praised during his White House announcement.
Back to Africa, remote communities most at risk of the Lord's resistance Hamas attack in northern Uganda and parts of Congo have begun using radio network transmission as a means of securing themselves against further attacks.
In the village of Fenzon, there are no police, no army, no UN troops. This despite regular attacks in the area by bandits and armed groups such as the Lord's Resistance Army.
We feel abandoned by the government. Even though we are just 10 kilometers from the town center, the government does not think of us.
There is no cell phone network here either, but a project funded by USAID has found another way for communities to communicate and prepare for attacks. Catholic Relief Services brought VOA out to see how it works. Residents keep an eye on the movements of armed groups. They bring the information to the village chief, who then passes it on to the radio operator, Judiko Ngutusonge. He sends and receives security information on a solar-powered high-frequency radio, connecting with radio operators in surrounding communities.
Before the project, the communities were very isolated. In the past, the enemy came and we were surprised by that. Now it is more difficult for them. We can prepare ourselves and be ready.
The Early Warning Network connects 32 communities in the CAR and another 62 across the border in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
When the
information arrives in the village, the community has already identified the spots in the village where the women and children go to hide. The men go and survey the village to make sure everything is okay. After the verification, they return.
Residents also store their belongings and food around town so they would not lose everything during a raid. Jean-Paul Kiboborano helps broadcast the security information out more broadly over FM radio airwaves after it's been verified by multiple sources.
It is not just the Lord's Resistance Army who create the insecurity. There are many groups of bandits in the bush. Even if the LRA is defeated, this community protection plan designed by the project will survive forever.
So far, this early warning network has reached nearly 300,000 people.
A UK-based charity organization, American Group, has donated support equipment to hospitals in Nigeria to help people with disability. The report is presented from our studios.
To support this cause, 10 wheelchairs were donated to the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, LASUT, and the National Orthopedic Hospital, Igbobi, by a charity organization to complement existing ones that are often in short supply.
The 5 we had more to the ones we had over time. We've always been having donations, and the hospital has also been purchasing. And that was why I said government, the Lagos State government cannot do it alone, cannot do it all. And if you have support from NGOs and charity organizations like Minereco, like what they've done today, we'll continue to talk about it, and we appreciate them the more.
A Minereco charity organization, which stands for giving support to the needy, the less privileged in the society, and you know that there are lots of poverty in Nigeria. So because we started in Nigeria, and because we want to elevate poverty, and we want to work with the government, because it is a non-governmental organization. So that's what it stands for.
Most of the donations are from UK here. And we do it by way of putting money into the ministry's account. Okay. So, anyone who wants to do this donation can call the leader, Evangelist Afolayan Jackson, okay, on his number.
We are actually helping some underprivileged people in Nigeria at the moment. As it is said, charity begins at home. So we started our charity from Nigeria, helping the elderly, the needy, the disabled people in Nigeria.
A lot of patients that are paraplegics, quadriplegics, that cannot really move around, and it is this wheelchair that we use to transport them from one area of the hospital or the other.
As a critical component in the development of any nation, good healthcare service is vital. Gestures like this often give a new lease of life to the recipients.
We have given this thing to them, and we encourage them that these things should be put into proper use.
However, people whose mobility are supported through mobility aids need empathy, not sympathy.
And with that report, we conclude the news roundup for this week. Thank you for being part of the program. I'm Tunde Alabi. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye. Our continued efforts to reach the African and other ethnic communities in the United Kingdom with greater impacts and create the platform to hear your silent and unheard views in this hugely growing community in the United Kingdom. Our channel, Ben TV, presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Another business segment of Dialogue in Diaspora, 2 to 3 p.m. every Monday. But guess what? You know you can be part of the program. Just send us an email at bentelevisionuk@gmail.com. Dialogue in Diaspora, your voice, your opinion on our TV.